Good morning. I'm Judge Tammy Long Hayward. This is the Clayton County State Court. This is the jail and jail and probation calendar for September 20, 2022. There we go. I'm going to call the calendar, and when I do, I'm going to ask the attorneys to respond on behalf of the clients. If the client does not have an attorney, then I'm going to ask that the clients, when the attorneys are allowed to go into the breakout room, that they ask those individuals who are currently unrepresented or showing as unrepresented if they have counsel that we don't know about, or if they wish to have indigent defense. So we'll do that. I'm going to call the calendar now. Kevin Washington Coley. It's a pending SSD.
Yeah, Your Honor, sorry.
Go ahead.
He probably got arrested for arrest warrant. I'll check and see if he's still in.
Yeah, because our case is closed, but I don't see I do see an arrest order.
That's what he got. That's what he in for.
Okay. So hello. Okay, I don't see counsel. I do see that there's a ticket that was no process, but I'm not sure what's going on, why he was arrested, because our case is showing closed.
He was arrested on the SSD.
The probation. Oh, he was on
begging to pay.
Oh, wow. Oh, let's bring him up right now. Deputy, if you can bring him up right now, I can solve that. Miss Heath Fordson, We have the modifications that for the SSDs that we did last week. So if you would pull one of those for me, I generally give jail time credit for time served on these.
Okay, Judge.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Coley, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Mr. Coley, I have you here for it's an arrest warrant and a pending SSD. So that means that at the time, I'm gonna explain it to you, it's a suspended sentence. At the time that you saw me last, you failed to pay the amount of fines and fees that were due. And after being given time to pay, you still had not paid. So an arrest warrant went out. So, sir, Miss Brenda, do you know how much the SSD was?
So it looked
Good morning,
like,
Judge.
go ahead, Ms.
I'm sorry, I have it pulled up. The total $298.
298, you said?
That's correct.
Oh. Okay. So, sir, I have $698. Is that correct, Ms. Riverdenier?
Yes, Judge. That's correct.
And how long has this person been in jail? Can anyone tell me?
It looks like he was taken on September 12th.
Okay. All right. So at this time, Mr. Coley, I'm going to give you credit for time served instead of the fines and fees, and we'll close your case. And if this is the only thing that you're in jail for, then we'll go ahead and close that down. All right. And you should be released today. Okay. And if anyone has the arrest order release, I guess that's when I sign the modification that we can send that over. Ms. Heath Fortson, if you'll put case was modified to give credit for time served and balance the balance of the case is closed in Stanter. All right, Epps, Derek Raymond Epps.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Epps wishes to admit the violation and stipulate to the technical violations.
All right,
And
so I have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And accept the probation's recommendation of 8 days to return to probation and get a document evaluation by the 30th.
All right, so I have that recommendation. We'll pull them up in a moment. Kamal Bomani Freeman.
I need to conference with this client, Your Honor.
Akeem Harris.
I need conference with this client also.
Steve High. I have that this is the petition.
Yes, I need to conference with them to communicate a new recommendation.
Patrick Wesley Jones.
Your Honor, this is for revocation of bond.
Have you spoken with your client, Mr. Kamani?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and we're ready for the motion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Cynthia Marie Kirkland.
This will be a negotiated no locally, Your Honor.
Sequoia Linda Lynn.
Your Honor, request for a continuance. We're still awaiting the evaluation report.
All right, so this has been continued several times. How much time do you think it's going to take, or have they given any indication about how long it would take to get the report?
Your Honor, I'll follow up with DBHD, ADD and let you know.
Okay, so I'm going to set this out for 3 weeks. If something happens before then, let me know.
All right.
All right, thank you. Corey Morgan.
This case is pending a mental evaluation. I'll follow up with DBHD to get an estimate.
All right, thank you, man.
All right. All right. So we'll put Morgan on a 3-week continuance so that we can hear about the mental health eval. Stephen Moultrie.
Your Honor, I attempted jail visit, but I could not get in touch. I just need to speak to him briefly.
Silas Pate.
Your Honor, I have discussed this case with him. I've received the updated recommendations. I just need to inform him of his new recommendations.
Cameron Alexander Sims.
Your Honor, this is a probation violation, and he'll stipulate and agree to the violations.
All right, he also has an SSD. How long has Mr. Sims been in jail?
Your Honor, I show September 7th.
Okay, so Ms. Camille, if you'll prepare a modification also for Cameron Alexander Sims, credit for time served for in lieu of the fines and fees. Ms. Rivadeneira, do you know how much he owes? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Brenda, whoever has it up or can pull it up.
Is he on for probation or is he on for SSD?
Both.
Both, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Judge,
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you heard me, Judge, but it was 298.
298. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we'll go ahead and do the SSD modification for credit for time served. All right. That's the last on the calendar. And then I have another calendar, I think, that involves cases that are not jail cases. Let me check and make sure, and then I'll set up the breakout rooms. Boykin, Demario Boykin.
Mr. Boykin in the call?
Demario Boykin.
State requests a bench warrant bond forfeiture, Your Honor.
All right, well, Mr. Taylor, this was your request. Have you had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Boykin?
I spoke with Mr. Boykin once, and I've been trying to get in touch with him and tell him he's back on the calendar, but the past 2 calls and emails have not been returned.
All right, bench warrant bond forfeiture granted. Mr. Moultrie is back. Benjamin Ellison Jr.
Judge, can you hear me, Judge Hayward?
I hear you.
Okay, let me get around where you can see my face.
Okay.
That'll be a treat for you.
It will, Mr. Studdard.
Judge, these cases, I have Mr. Ellison and one other case on your calendar. Both cases of mine have been on before, and I have recommendations which I'd like to revisit with the prosecutor before I make a decision.
Okay, so you have Ellison and Garvin?
I do, yes, Judge.
Yeah, let's get Mr. Garvin taken care of. He's been here every time. He's been very patient. So let's try and see if we can get this done. Mr. Garvin, I know you've had to kind of work through a couple of continuances due to conflicts that the court had to recognize. So we're going to get you taken care of, okay? Destiny Johnson, I see Miss Johnson is on the phone, is on the call. I see you, Miss Johnson.
Yes,
Who's
I need
representing?
I am representing Ms. Johnson, Your Honor. I need a breakout with Ms. Johnson.
Okay. All right. And Ronald Dale Triplett.
I believe Mr. Triplett is at the courthouse. Is there not a video feed today?
Ms.
No,
Val,
Ms. Taylor, there's not a video feed on Tuesdays.
no,
He would need to have been on Zoom.
yeah, that's why we do, the Tuesday calendar is a little different because we don't have a deputy to staff the courtroom and the jail. So that's why we do it this way. If you can be somewhere with counsel or on your own Zoom, we'll accommodate you on a Tuesday. But the deputy that's assigned to my courtroom is also assigned to the jail courtroom on Tuesdays. So I don't have anybody to manage that.
Yeah, and I put that in the email to send him the
So
Zoom.
if you want to contact Mr. Triplett and give him the log on, we can handle it that way.
Okay, I'll contact him while we're breaking.
Right. All right, so what I'm going to do now is set up the breakout rooms, and I'm going to assign okay, Mr. Kamani and Mr. Taylor, I'm going to put you in the jail breakout room. That's going to be breakout room number 1. Also, Mr. Studdard and Mr. Brooks. I don't see enough. Oh, Mr. Tipton is also here. So I'll put you in breakout room with Mr. Tipton. Mr. Taylor and Mr. Kamani. All right, and let's see. Tipton, Mr. Studdard. And I thought I saw Mr. Brooks. If he wants to go into the breakout room, I can set that up, but he may have gone into another courtroom. All right, I'm opening the breakout rooms. Does anyone, before I open the doors, does anyone know of a client or someone, witness or someone who needs interpretation, Spanish interpretation?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so if that being the case, Ms. Tolles, thank you so much. And you're free to go to another courtroom at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. All right, so the breakout rooms are open. And as soon as the attorneys finish speaking with each other, we'll begin moving forward on your cases, okay? The jail is in breakout room number 1. Did you have a question for me before you go?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Taylor's client can go into court admin to get on Zoom if need be, so he can probably let him know that.
Okay, he's already in. Let me send him a message. Oh, wait, no, Mr. Taylor? I don't see Mr. Taylor. I think Mr. Taylor's call dropped. Oh, there he is. So, Mr. Taylor, can you hear me? Mr. Taylor?
Sorry, I disconnected.
Okay, so if Mr. Triplett is at the courthouse, have him go down to court administration and they will help him get online, okay?
Okay, I'll let him know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll put you in breakout room number 1. All right, so when the attorneys return, we'll come back and continue with the calendar, okay? Thank you.
Got it. That's your video right there.
Right here.
That's your video right there. You're in, though. It's probably just loading up. You're in, though. It's probably just loading up.
I think there's maybe two devices that are a little too close to each other. We were getting a little feedback. Mr. Triplett, your attorney is in a breakout room, but as soon as he's back, then we'll be able to address your concerns when the other attorneys come back also. Mr. Tipton, Mr. Studdard, have y'all reached an agreement?
Yes, Judge, as to Garvin, Judge, I might need some further conversation with Ellison, but it's Garvin, I'm ready on that.
Okay. All right. What's the decision in Garvin?
Yes, sir, he wants to play. Mr. Tippin, you might give the recommendation.
Yes, yes, Your Honor. For count one, civil battery, family violence, it's going to be 12 months probation, family violence intervention program. Let's see, 40 hours of community service, $300 fine, and no violent or harassing contact with the victim.
All right. And
as to the other charge.
Oh, and my apologies. And as to the simple battery, that will be dismissed.
all right. So is this a guilty plea or a NOLO?
Judge, we prefer a no contest plea. No, yes, ma'am.
State will object to the NOLO.
Okay, let me hear the case. Mr. Garvin, Tremaine Garvin, you're before the court on 2020 CR 03055. Sir, raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can put your hand down. So, Mr. Garvin, you're before the court on simple battery, family violence, count one, and simple battery, count two. You're represented by Mr. James Studdard, who's here on the call. By entering a plea of guilty or NOLO, because I haven't decided yet which the court will accept, to the offenses before the court, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, Mr. Garvin?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Factual basis recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On March 17th, 2020, police for the Clayton County Police Department went to 8075 Amberfield Way in Riverdale, Georgia, in response to a domestic disturbance. They made contact with Andrika, Andrieka, Garvin, Garvin, who advised that she and her husband, the defendant, Mr. Tremaine Garvin, got into a verbal altercation about finances. During the altercation, Mr. Garvin punched her in the mouth. Their son then attempted to stop the physical altercation and began to struggle with the defendant. A fight broke out between the defendant and his son before a neighbor stopped both parties. And during the let's see. And that is the base. And the police had to come and stop the. 1 second.
All right, Mr. Studdard. Oh, I'm sorry. I have the recommendation. Was there anything else?
Let me just check on his history real quick, Your Honor. He has nothing. He has nothing that's relevant to this particular matter, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Studdard. Mr. Studdard. Mr. Studdard, you're muted if you're talking, and because I can't see you.
I'm sorry, Judge. I'm sorry. I was distracted. Can I get the repeat the question, please?
All right. I was asking if you have anything to say on behalf of Mr. Garvin. The question, I've gotten the recommendation. The question is whether the court will accept a nolo or a guilty.
I understand, Judge, and no, I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right. All right. Let's ask a few questions. Mr. Garvin, are you still married to and intend to be married to Andrika Garvin?
We was deciding maybe to separate in the future, but right now we're getting along.
How old is the son?
He's 25.
And Mr. Garvin, how are y'all getting along? You should have a no contact provision on your bond.
No, this money, I'm still paying bills there. I'm staying with my mother right now, but I'm still paying bills, so we're getting along as far as that part.
Okay. All right. So the state has objected to the NOLO. I understand why. It's family violence, and hearing from the recitation of facts, it was a volatile situation. Mr. Garvin, how old is your son?
He's 26, 25.
Oh, I'm sorry you said that. And he lives with you?
Well, he lives with her. Yeah, that's basically what the argument was about, because he didn't want to work. He doesn't do anything, doesn't help pay bills or anything. So. Okay,
so here's what I'm going to do. So, sir, I'm going to accept your plea. I'll send you to take. I'll accept your plea of NOLO. I'll send you 12 months probation, a family violence intervention program, 40 hours of community service, a $300 fine, and no violent or harassing contact with Andrika Garvin. So the 12 months of probation, there's going to be a probation supervision fee with that. The family violence intervention program is a 24-week course, so you need to start that as soon as as soon as today. Once you speak with probation, get as much information as you can so that you can get that started. 40 hours of community service, a $300 fine. That $300 fine is going to be $444, and no violent or harassing contact. So here's the thing. If Ms. Garvin is going to continue to let a grown adult live in the house without being responsible, there's not a lot you can change with that. That's essentially what I fight here every single day. You'd be amazed at how many adults, male and female, still live at home, and I understand the economics of it, but they don't contribute. And so, I'm old school, you're not gonna sit up here and use up my electricity watching my TV without contributing something if I allow you to stay. I just don't think that's a tenable situation. So if you and Ms. Garvin intend to stay together, y'all are gonna need not just your family violence intervention program counseling, but y'all are gonna need couples counseling to get over the hump of why she thinks a 25-year-old should still be living in your house without paying. Otherwise, this relationship may not be, it may not be viable. The reason I say that is because if that seems to be the source of the issues, whether it's finances or whether it's this big grown man lazing up on my house, if that's the source and that doesn't change, your relationship's not going to change. So just be mindful of that, sir. I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mrs. Thomas. Mrs. Thomas is going to speak with you about all of the necessary information that you need to have for probation. Once she's finished speaking with you, then you'll be free to go. But just remember that your contact with Mrs. Garvin is to be no violent or harassing contact. Should you all decide to divorce, then it would be better to have contact through your attorneys or whatever mediators are set up. Okay. All right. All right. So Mr. Garvin, I'm putting you in breakout room number 6 with Mrs. Thomas. And once you're finished speaking with Mrs. Thomas, you don't have to come back to the main room. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Call me later.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. So we have several other cases that are not jail cases. Ellison, Johnson, and Triplett.
Judge on Ellison, James stuttered again. I'd like to have an opportunity to speak with the prosecutor and to get the recommendation straight on that case. And I think that will be a plea also. But I would like Mr. Ellison to explain to him what the prosecutors told me as far as recommendation.
Okay.
Excuse me, I hit it backwards.
No problem. And Miss, you need to speak with Mr. Ellison, you said?
Yes, Judge, thank you.
All right. And Mr. Taylor, did you have a announcement?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. Let me put Mr. Stuttered in the breakout room with Mr. Taylor, Mr. Tipton, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna move Mr. Tipton. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna move Mr. Stuttered to breakout room number 3. And I'll put Mr. Ellison in breakout room number 3 as soon as I find it. All right, Mr. Ellison, I'm putting you in breakout room number 3, speak where you can speak with your attorney. Okay. Thank you. All right, announcements.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, I want to say Mr. Triplett has finally joined us on the call, and Mr. Boykin is also present.
Okay, I see you.
I'll need a brief breakout with Mr. Boykin, and I believe Mr. Brooks was on the fence in our negotiations regarding Mr. Triplett, and he wanted a bench conference at some point today.
Okay, well.
With Your Honor. But as far as the jail calendar,
Go ahead.
Mr. Akeem Harris would like to enter a guilty plea.
Guilty to count 1 or both?
Both.
Okay.
And Mr. High would like to enter a stipulated admission to the violation and accept the recommendation of 7 days and suspend probation.
Okay. All right, and those are your jail cases. Mr. Kamani?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, one more jail case, sorry. I just heard back from Mr. Tipton. Camus Freeman will also be entering a guilty plea.
Okay. All right. Mr.
Your Honor,
Kamani?
yes, Stephen Moultrie will be a stipulate and agree. Silas Pate will be guilty to counts 1 and 2. And Cameron Sims will be a stipulate and agree to the technical violations only.
All right. All right, may I have Epps, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Epps, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Correct. Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down, sir. So, Mr. Epps, you're before the court on State of Georgia versus Derek Raymond Epps, 2022 CR 01919. You were convicted, you entered a plea for DUI, alcohol less safe, driving on a suspended or revoked red light violation, traffic control device violation on June 7th of 2022. You were sentenced to 20 months on probation. You have 20 months and 8 days remaining. Your sentence was not told, and this is your second hearing before the court. It says you failed to avoid injurious and vicious habits, that you tested positive for alcohol and the metabolites of alcohol. All right. So, Mr. Taylor, you and Mr. Epps have talked about this, and it's my understanding it's an 8 days in jail, return to probation, and be evaluated by September 30.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Austin, may I hear from the probation office?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct. The defendant is to receive credit of time served, return back to probation, and he is to disclose to the evaluator that this is his second time testing positive for alcohol. And this is all to be completed by September 30th, 2022.
Okay, so Mr. Epps, how old are you, sir?
I just turned 41.
Okay, so Mr. Epps, I suspect this is not a new problem that you're struggling with.
When I get this, and like I brought my medicine because I started having more seizures and stuff like that. So I've been going to the doctor like the last 3 times in 3 weeks. So they've been giving me different meds. So I brought the medicine down there so the probation people wouldn't, nobody wanted to look at it or anything like this. So that's why I have problems on my right side now. And they give me now.
So Mr. Epps, we've learned a few things since we first started doing probation way back when. And we know that the metabolites of alcohol ingestion are different from seizure medicines.
Yes, I understand, yeah. And that's what I understand.
And you probably having seizures because you're drinking. And I know that medicine doesn't allow you to drink.
It don't. It say it causes death, but they say
so you want death?
No, ma'am. That's why.
Well, then stop drinking on your seizure medicine. Seizures can cause death alone, but if you're drinking on the medicine that they're giving you to treat seizures, and they tell you that drinking, mixing alcohol with this medicine could cause you to die, sir, you got to think, I know the pull of that alcohol is strong because you have an addiction, but you got to participate in the programs that will help you fight that addiction. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You know how I found out people who've been on my calendars have died? I get a message from the solicitor's office saying, hey, we're going to close this case and here's the death certificate. I don't want to get one of those for you.
I don't want one either.
Okay, well then you're gonna have to start doing some things. This program that you're in, you need to tell them this is your second time testing positive, and you need to continue with your treatment. You understand?
Now I told Miss Griffin, and that's why we had to reschedule. It was supposed to be for the 15th, but now I had to reschedule it. So we're gonna try to do it tomorrow or Thursday. But otherwise I can't get my money back, so it has to be done before then. And it cost me $185 just to do the evaluation.
That's what I'm saying. You're spending money on something that could help you, but you're not participating in getting your own help. So I'm gonna give you the what they've recommended, but I need you to help yourself because I don't want to get one of those notices.
I don't want you to get one either.
So is he completing an evaluation or is he continuing treatment, Mr. Austin?
Your Honor, he's being evaluated from my instructions that I have.
Yes, Your Honor, this was part of the evaluation I believe he was originally ordered to do, which he tells me he had scheduled for the 15th, but he was locked up at that time.
All right, hold on. Is he going to test at each report?
Yes, Your Honor. You gave him that condition off the first hearing.
Okay, that's why we got you. So Mr. Epps, I'm going to accept your you and your attorney's agreement with the probation office. I'm gonna revoke 8 days, credit since lockup. You'll return to probation and you're gonna complete your evaluation by September 30th, and all of the other conditions that I ordered are still in force. Is there anything else, Mr. Austin?
No, Your Honor, that's all.
Anything else, Mr. Taylor?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right,
Honor.
Mr. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, can I just add for him to report to probation tomorrow?
All right, Mr. Epps, you need to report to probation tomorrow. As soon as you get out of jail, you need to start figuring out how you're gonna come back to the courthouse to report to probation, okay?
All right.
All
But you know, I
right.
can't.
What,
I can't
Mr. Epps?
drive.
Well,
I
they
can't
got
drive.
a guy made it from Gwinnett County on the bus and the trains while I was on Zoom. It took him a while, but he got here. So buses and trains, or as we used to do in the old days, somebody's bike or your feet.
That's a long walk from Atlanta. Well,
It
okay.
is, but you're gonna have to figure out how to get here. You got me? All right.
Well, 4:30, right? Mr. Austin?
Mr. Austin,
Say that again, sir.
Before 4:30, right?
Before 4 o'clock, before 4 o'clock.
8 to 4.
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
and stop drinking before I get one of those notices, Mr. Epps.
I got 2 minutes. Stay where I got you.
All right. Okay, you can go back with the sheriff's office.
Does he need to see probation, Your Honor?
No, thank you. Okay, I don't know why whenever I get like something from Ms. Chang or Mr. Austin, I have to create my own email in order to send it back. So let's see.
Take it 3 times a day, and I ain't trying to, you know what I'm saying?
All right, so that order's been sent. Next is Freeman. Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
raise your right hand for me, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes.
You could put your hand down, sir. So, Mr. Freeman, you're before the court on Clayton, State of Georgia versus Kamal Bomani Freeman, 2020 CR 08025. Mr. Freeman, you're charged with giving a false name, address, or date of birth. My understanding is your attorney, Mr. Taylor, has indicated you wish to enter a guilty plea. By entering a guilty plea, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And Mr. Freeman, if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes.
All right, factual basis recommendation.
Yes, Your Honor. On August 7th, 2020, officers with Clayton County PD responded to 4531 Old Dixie Road in Forest Park here in Clayton County in reference to a domestic disturbance. During the investigation, they asked the offender, Mr. Freeman, what his name was, to which Mr. Freeman gave them the name Mike Jason, which it was determined to not be his actual name. That is the basis for the giving false name. The state's recommendation is for count 1, 12 months served. How much time has he done?
48 hours.
Yes, 12 months served, 48 hours. Let's see, credit for time served, balance probated, a $200 fine. Upon payment of that fine, probation shall suspend, and it shall suspend upon no new violations of criminal law.
Okay, is this a room and house situation?
I am not sure, Your Honor, if I may have one moment to review the report.
Who's the alleged, who was the other person in the altercation?
The other person in the altercation, Your Honor, was a Miss Deborah Knight. It appears that it does not appear that Mr. Freeman was actually part of, implicated in that incident, merely that we spoke with him about the incident.
All right. So Mr. Freeman, I'm going to accept your plea. I'll give you 12 months to serve 48 hours. Credit for time served. Balance will be probated for are you working, sir?
Not as of now, no.
Okay. Have you worked in the last 6 months?
Yes.
Where were you working, sir?
The Clorox company.
Okay. Is there a possibility you can get your job back?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the court is going to assess the fine of $200 with the surcharges. It'll be $298. As soon as you pay the $298, your probation will be suspended, which means you will not have to report anymore. You'll to have no new violations of the laws of the state of Georgia. So, sir, make sure you report to probation, because the quickest way to get rearrested is not to report, and then work on getting your job back so you can pay the fines and fees, because as soon as you paid them, you'll be off probation. Okay. Yes. All right. I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mrs. Thomas. She's our probation expert, and she's going to speak to you about what you need to do to make sure that you don't come back here. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right. So we have several people from the calendar who've come on: Moultrie, Boykin, and Mr. Ellison and Mr. Studdard. Mr. Studdard, do you have an announcement on Mr. Ellison's case?
We're ready.
I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Studdard, I can't hear you. And I can't.
This is my
okay. Can you sit at your desk and look at me and then speak? Like, I see your chair. I think you're okay. Now unmute. Can you unmute? Oh, Lord.
You hear me now, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Then my answer is yes, we're ready to enter a plea of guilty on Benjamin Ellison.
Okay, Mr. Ellison, raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true? All right, so Mr. Ellison, it doesn't say that you're muted, but I can't hear you.
Judge, I had the same problem with him in the breakout room, and I explained to him the little microphone with the cross across. You need to undo that, and I don't think he quite understood how to do it.
Mr. Ellison, do you see a little old-fashioned microphone on your screen? Touch that. Just unmute. Because see, as long as I see red on the screen, it means you're still muted. There you go. Now speak. Okay, can you turn your volume up? What are you on, a phone or a computer?
Your Honor, perhaps Mr. Ellison didn't connect to audio when he initially connected to the meeting.
Okay, so Mr. Ellison, that little microphone that you see, if you touch it, you should see a little arrow pop up next to it. Touch next to the microphone, there should be a little arrow, and it should say choose audio or. You see it? All right, Mr. Ellison, one more thing. Do you have anybody under the age of 20 in your household? No. That's usually my tech go-to, sorry. Okay, so the only thing I can think of is that you don't, let me look at my computer and see what it, so when you check next to the old-fashioned microphone, it'll say select a speaker. Or audio settings. Do you see audio settings? And we're looking for your microphone volume. No, you're muted again. So, okay, so this, Mr. Ellison, this is what I'm gonna ask you to do. I'm gonna ask you to, hello? Okay,
Yes.
There you are. Okay.
You hear me?
Yes, don't change anything, don't touch anything.
No, I won't. Believe
Okay.
me, I won't. Believe me, I won't.
Mr. Ellison, you're before the court for DUI less safe, improper lane change, and too fast for conditions. Mr. Studdard, what is your client plea to the case, to the offenses before the court?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right. By entering a plea of guilty to counts 1, 2, and 3, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And Mr. Ellison, if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes.
All right, and this is case 2021 CR 00405. All right, Mr. Tipton.
Yes, Your Honor. With regard to case number 2021 CR 00405, on November 29th, 2020, troopers with the Georgia Department of Public Safety or Georgia State Patrol observed a vehicle on Georgia 85 at in a ditch facing north. It appeared to have crashed and was partially submerged underwater. They made contact with the driver, who had glassy bloodshot eyes that were very watery. He asked the driver if the driver had anything to drink that night. He said yes, he had, and then asked the driver to perform field sobriety tests. The driver, they attempted to perform HGN evaluations, but the driver was having a hard time following instructions and continued to move his head. Since they were unable to complete the HGN, and it was too dangerous to do any other field sobriety tests, they took the driver in. The driver refused to blow on an Alka sensor, and after implied consent was read, the, let's see, the driver refused to submit to the blood test. The state's recommendation on this case is a $750 fine for the DUI, 12 months to serve 12 months serve 6 days, credit for time served, balance probated, DUI risk reduction course, 240 hours community service, no drugs or alcohol, subject to random testing, substance abuse evaluation and treatment. For count 2, improper lane change, it will be a 100.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
You read that like you from New York, like you just got here yesterday. 12 months, 6 days to serve, credit for time served, balance probated to pay a fine in the amount of $750, 240 hours of community service, no alcohol or illicit drugs during the course of your probation, a substance abuse evaluation, and any treatment that may be ordered, and a risk reduction course and random screens. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
For the improper lane change, it'll be a $100 fine suspended, and any restitution if it's determined that there is any restitution. I didn't see anything about victims, but I want to confirm with my advocate. And for the too fast for conditions, a $100 fine suspended. And with regard to the other case he has on the calendar, the 2020 CR 03485, the state will only be proceeding with the stop sign violation. That will be a $100 fine suspended. Counts 2 and 3 will be null prost. Part of plea negotiations.
Okay, so Mr. Ellison, just to perfect the record, you're entering please to counts 1, 2, and 3 on case 2021 CR 00405, and you're also entering a plea to count 1 of guilty on case 2020 CR 03485. That's a fine in the amount of $100 that will be suspended, and counts 2 and 3 on the case ending in 03485 will be null pros per the agreement between the parties. Is that correct?
It's my understanding, yes.
All right. So Mr. Studdard, anything else on behalf of your client?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Ellison, you got a nice house. I could see the pictures from here. And I can tell you that if one thing had been different that night that this happened, everything in your life could have been upended. Do you understand? You landed in a ditch that had water in it. Anything could happen.
On my behalf, truth be told, I was leaving Alpharetta and I came off the 75 onto 85 by the motor vehicle department. And I travel that road every day, every other day, off of 75 onto Riverdale Road. I only had one drink for my daughter's birthday.
Judge,
One drink, a shot.
Judge, may I intervene just 1 second, please?
Yes,
I'm not sure, Mr. Ellison, I'm not sure that she wants to hear the case. We've already done the plea, and
I understand that. But the
I'm
truth
just
be told, I haven't done, I don't know what happened in that road because there's no potholes, there's nothing. But I appreciate, thank you. And
Well,
I'm done.
I want you to be careful, because if you got a daughter to celebrate, I want you to continue to do that.
I got seven daughters, no boys.
Ooh.
7 daughters.
Y'all
No,
just
thank
kept trying for that boy. All right.
No, my wife is deceased, and I apologize, and I thank y'all for everything.
No, I just want, in cases like this, I just want everybody to be safe. That is my number one thing. Okay. All right. So, sir,
thank you.
You've heard my recommendation. I'm going to run counts 2 and 3 concurrent with count 1 on the case ending in 00405. And then I'll run the sentence on the case ending in 03485 concurrent with that case ending in 00405. So that's a lot of stuff that Miss Brenda and Miss River Denier, they know well. So you don't have to worry about that. It just means that everything's going to be happening at the same time. And when you're finished with your first sentence, everything else should be included in that. Okay. All right. So Mr. Ellison, I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mrs. Thomas. She's our probation expert, and she's going to assist you in making sure that you get signed up and get to where you need to be. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
And once you've spoken with Mrs. Thomas, you do not have to come back here to the main room. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Take
And
care,
Your
sir.
Honor, I did want to clarify too, there will be no restitution. I just clarified with my victim advocate that there was no
All
victim.
right. No restitution. Thank you, Mr. Tipton. All right. So now Mr. Garvin's case has been handled. We have Miss Johnson, Mr. Triplett, and Mr. Boykin are all cases that are not jail cases. Have you all had the opportunity to speak with these individuals?
I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Boykin, and he would like to enter a guilty plea and receive first offender treatment.
Okay. Mr. Boykin? Mr. Boykin?
He was here.
Demario Boykin, he's here. He just touch the screen, touch the thing that looks like an old-fashioned microphone, and I can hear you if you do that. Okay. Mr. Taylor, send Mr. Boykin a chat. Maybe he's just away from his screen for a moment, and when he comes back, he'll see the chat. Okay, so who's representing Miss Johnson?
I'm representing Ms. Johnson, Your Honor. If I could actually get a breakout with the state regarding Ms. Johnson.
Okay. And Triplett?
We would ask to continue Mr. Triplett. We need to, I believe we're going to need to file a competency evaluation for Mr. Triplett. But I need to meet with him one more time this week with my supervisor. But
I don't know if so hear me out. I think Mr. Triplett has been diagnosed before. Not sure with what, but please check and see if there's a diagnosis already before we have to submit him into that process. Okay, Mr. Boykin, hold on just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to submit him through that timely process of trying to get him an evaluation. I think there's already something on the books that we might be able to work with. Okay.
Yes,
all right. So generally somebody comes with Mr. Triplett when he comes to court. So I'll put you in a breakout room with Mr. Triplett, but if there's someone there to assist, there is up there. So you can speak with them about his case. Okay, Mr. Taylor?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Triplett, just hold on a minute. I'm going to put him in the breakout room with you all. Mr. Boykin?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down. So, Mr. Boykin, you're before the court on 2020-CR-05397 for Demario Quintavious Boykin. You're before the court for count 1, battery, family violence, count 2, battery, count 3, simple battery, family violence, count 4, simple battery, count 5, battery, family violence, count 6, battery, count 7, simple battery, family violence, count 8, simple battery, count 9, simple battery, family violence, and count 10, simple battery. Mr. Taylor, you've indicated Mr. Boykin wishes to plead guilty to count 1. Is that correct?
To counts 1, 5, and 9.
Okay. By entering a plea of guilty to counts 1, 5, and 9, sir, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And Mr. Boykin, if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, factual basis recommendation, please.
Okay, Your Honor, yes, Your Honor, on June 20th, 2020, officers with Clayton County PD were called to 5868 Ronnie Drive in reference to domestic disturbance. Upon arrival, they made contact with Miss Cedrica, Cedrica Hubert, who stated that she and Mr. Boykin had gotten into a verbal disagreement. Let's see, in which she told the offender that she does not want him living with her. Ms. Hubert stated that when she got to the house, the offender was already at her home. And let's see. Okay, that there was an altercation in which he began to kick her in the back of in which he tossed her against the wall, punched her in the face, and kicked her in the back of the head, which then caused her bleeding on the face. Let's see. Let's see if there appear to be multiple counts of battery family violence. Just want to confirm that I'm telling you the entirety of it. Yes, so he struck her in the face, causing a swollen lip, struck her, threw her against the wall, causing a large laceration on her forehead, and let's see, intentionally made contact with of a provoking nature with her by kicking her in the back of the head. They are the parents of the same child.
All right. Recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. The recommendation, Your Honor, is 12 months, served 10 days, balance probated, family violence intervention program, 40 hours of community service, do not return to the incident location, no contact with the victim, a $1,000 fine for count one, and
Can we confirm that jail time? I believe Mr. Brooks and I had discussed 5 days.
let me see if you sent me anything. My apologies, Your Honor.
They charged me 10 times. Shit. Oh, they charged me 10 times.
Hey, Mr. Boykin,
Mr.
do you want to
Boykin?
mute your microphone?
Mr. Boykin, please stop cussing.
I'm talking to him.
Mr. Boykin, please mute your microphone for now.
I got you.
Mr. Taylor, did Mr. Brooks send you an email with an updated offer?
No, we just discussed it orally.
Nice. Have to excuse me, he did not leave a note for me. I do apologize. Let's see if I can get in touch with him momentarily. My apologies, it was 5 days, not 10 days. So it's 12 months served, 5 days, balance probated, family violence intervention program, 40 hours of community service, do not return, no contact with the victim, $1,000 fine. Let's see, and count 5 is going to be another 12 months to run concurrent, a $1,000 fine. And
Mr. Boykin, I gotta see you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right,
We ain't heard we have a child together though, so
Mr. Boykin, we'll talk about that.
I
That doesn't,
apologize.
that doesn't mean you get to hit her. So
I apologize, Your Honor. It's 12 months, 12 months, serve 5 days, balance probated, family violence intervention
I
program.
got that one. Go to number 5, 12 months, an additional $1,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, and count 9 is also an additional $1,000.
All right. So anything on behalf of Mr. Boykin, Mr. Taylor?
Your Honor, Mr. Boykin would request that, or we would request that he be credited for the time he has already served, which we believe is 5 days, and he would request first offender treatment.
Anything from the state?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor. Let me just double check and make sure that he is first offender eligible. Let's see. He appears to be first offender eligible. I just looking at these photos of the injury though, I do want to make the court aware that the injuries look quite graphic. Okay. Yeah.
Let me ask this. Is Mr. Boykin gonna be able to do everything and pay about $5,000 in fines within a 1 year period of time?
5,000. Said 1,000.
It's 1,000 3 times, Mr. Boykin.
3,000.
Didn't know. There's fees that come with that.
1 year.
Do I need to run one of these consecutive? Mr. Taylor, if you need to talk to Mr. Boykin about that, I can let you do that now.
Yes, yes, Your Honor, if I could have a breakout.
All right. Before you go into the breakout room, let me tell Mr. Boykin exactly. Mr. Boykin, stop moving. You're making me dizzy. I get vertigo real easy. Okay. So listen to me. So 12 months probation, that's $52 each month. If I'm not correct, it might be 55. Family violence intervention program. I'm not sure what that costs. It depends on the program, but it's going to cost you. And that's going to be 24 weeks to take that. If you mess up, they'll make you start over. 40 hours.
Can I take that class to the VA?
Yeah, if the VA offers it, you can check that with probation. 40 hours of community service. You're not to go back to that location of 5868 Rooney Drive. If you need to get any personal items that are undisputedly yours, we're not talking about furniture, TVs, things like that, unless you have a receipt that shows you bought them. But your personal items, then the sheriff will give you one opportunity to go back with the sheriff. You have to make an appointment with the sheriff's office to go back, and you will carry anything away and transport it. The sheriff is not going to touch anything. They will just stand by to make sure that there's no altercation. You're also not to have any contact with Miss Cedrica Hubert. Miss Hubert, I understand, is the mother of your child. Listen to me now. Stop talking and stop moving so you can hear this clearly. Were you married when the child was born?
No.
Okay. And have you gone through a legitimation process through the Superior Court?
Yes.
Do you have legitimation papers?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then you need to go through the Superior Court to arrange any visitation, and that visitation should be monitored, and only what the Superior Court will order. And I'm not removing my no contact order. Do you understand? But you can only do it through the visitation schedule established through the Superior Court after this date. Not what you had previously. You have to go and petition to the Superior Court to give you visitation of your child, and they will have access to this order. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Until such time as the Superior Court says you can visit your child and tells you how to do it, you're not to go to Miss Hubert, and you're not to have contact with that child. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And
I
this-
just don't get in trouble no more.
Okay, so this means your family members and anybody acting on your behalf, nobody can call her on your behalf, text her, send her messages, nothing. We clear? Not your sisters, your aunties, your mama, nobody. We clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So the $1,000 fine, each of the $1,000 fines is going to be actually $1,420. You have 3 of those. So what I'm telling Mr. Taylor is I am willing to run one of the 12-month probation sentences consecutive, which means you would have 24 months to do everything. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So he's going to talk to you about that. I'm going to put you back in a breakout room.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Taylor, I'm going to put you in breakout room number 4. I'm going to put Mr. Mr. Boykin in breakout room number 4. Let's see, as soon as I find him. All right, I lost Mr. Boykin. Did anybody else lose him? Mr. Taylor? Okay, I think Mr. Boykin hung up or got disconnected. All right, and Mr. Taylor's case is Mr. Johnson. He's gonna speak with Mr. Triplett, and let's go to Mr. Kamani's cases while Mr. Taylor is looking for his clients.
We need Your Honor.
Harris, please.
Your Honor, Harris is Mr.
Oh, I'm
Taylor's
sorry.
case.
No, Deputy, I'm sorry. That's Mr. Taylor's case. Is Jones your case, Mr. Kamani?
Yes, Your Honor, but that's
Okay.
a revocation. That's a bond revocation hearing.
Oh, okay. Let's see. This is done. This is done. Oh, Moultrie. Mr. Moultrie, let me see you. All right. Mr. Moultrie, raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony that you give in this matter will be true?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, Mr. Stephen Levon Moultrie, you're before the court on case 2018 CR 00557. You were before this court for DUI alcohol less safe on the 8th day of August of 2022, and you were sentenced to 12 months on probation. Your sentence was not told. You have 10 months and 18 days remaining. It says that you failed to avoid injurious and vicious habits. You tested positive for alcohol on August 15th of 2022. You failed to complete an alcohol and drug evaluation within 10 days of leaving jail. You failed to complete a risk reduction program, and you failed to pay your $403 in arrears. Mr. Kamani?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Moultrie will stipulate and agree to the violations.
Okay. Mr. Austin?
Yes, Your Honor. The recommendation from probation is return back to probation, complete the alcohol and drug evaluation by October 1st. He'll be drug screened every report going forward, and he's to complete 2 AA or NA meetings.
All right. And how many days has he been in jail? Do we know?
He's been in there. He actually turned himself in on last Saturday, so he's been in there since September 10th, I believe. No, I'm sorry, September. Yeah, that's correct. September 10th.
All right. So per the recommendation or the agreement of the parties, Mr. Moultrie shall receive credit for time served since September 10th of 2022. Mr. Moultrie, you'll return to probation and complete a substance abuse evaluation by October 1st of 2022. You will be screened for drugs and alcohol at each report, and you'll attend 2 AA or NA meetings per week and show proof to probation. Mr. Kamani, you have any questions on behalf of your client?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else from this, Mr. Austin?
No, Your Honor, that's all. I just request that he reports to probation tomorrow.
All right. So Mr. Moultrie, you're being ordered to report to probation tomorrow morning. Probation opens at 8 a.m. Do you have any questions, sir?
No.
All right. So Mr. Moultrie, how old are you?
47.
So Mr. Moultrie, it appears to me that you have a substance abuse problem, and there's no shame in that. It's an addiction, and it's a medical condition like any other medical condition. But sir, this is one that will take you out of here. Either you're gonna drive drunk and hit somebody, or somebody's gonna hit you, or it's just gonna take your liver out. At 47, I've seen people younger than that die of alcohol abuse. And so you really, really got to get on top of this, sir. You do. You got to want it, and it's going to be hard. You got to want it. And the reason AA and NA work for people is because you don't have somebody sitting here talking to you about what you need to do to get over an addiction, because that's not my struggle. But you have people who do have that struggle, and they will help you to walk the path that they've walked, and they'll check in with you, and it's accountability. So, sir, that's sometimes more helpful than being put in some kind of treatment program. You got people who know what you're going through. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so please make sure that you take every effort to get your life together, because the person that you harm, it could be somebody else's child, not you. And that's the last thing you want to do. We clear?
Clear.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm going to send the order over at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No problem.
Thank you. Does he need to see probation, Your Honor?
He does not, no, sir. All right. Okay. All right, next on the calendar is Silas Pate.
Oh. Yeah.
Pate.
Yes, Your Honor, he's on.
All right, Mr. Triplett, I'm gonna put Mr. Taylor in a breakout room with you in a moment. I just need to make sure we finish with Mr. Boykin, okay?
Mr. Boykin is ready. He just accidentally DC'd.
He's what? I'm sorry.
Oh, he's here. Okay.
He's back.
Mr. Boykin is ready, and he would like the 2 years.
Okay. All right. Hold on just a second. Let me get oh boy. All right, Mr. Pate, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down, Mr. Pate. Mr. Pate, you're before the court on State of Georgia versus Silas Pate, 2022 CR 04680 for simple assault and criminal trespass. On count 1, simple assault, and on count 2, criminal trespass. Your attorney, Mr. Kamani, has indicated you're entering a plea of guilty. By entering a plea of guilty to counts 1 and 2, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And Mr. Pate, if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, factual basis and recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On September 14th, 2022, police with Clayton County PD responded to 8415 Stonewall Jackson Drive in Jonesboro in reference to domestic disturbance. When they arrived, they made contact with the defendant, Mr. Pate, as well as the victim, Miss Pascha, Pascha Thomas, common spelling. Their investigation revealed that there had been an argument between the victim and defendant, that the victim had been on the phone, and that upset the defendant, who put her in reasonable apprehension of immediate violent injury by standing over her using profanity with his fists closed. And he also, the victim said she felt threatened and felt that the defendant was going to injure her. At the same time, shortly thereafter, the defendant attempted to take food from the refrigerator and broke a clear inner panel to the refrigerator that was owned by the victim. The victim is here. I'm unsure if she'd like to make a statement, but the state's recommendation is 12 months, serve 10 days, balance probated, a $300 fine. Let's see. No drugs or alcohol, subject to random testing, no violent or harassing contact with the victim. This looks like, I think this is supposed to be a substance abuse evaluation and treatment for count 1, and count 2, the criminal trespass, a $300 fine suspended.
All right, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Kamani.
Your Honor, he's been in custody since 14 September, and he should request you to give him credit from the time of lockup.
Okay, who's the alleged victim in this case?
Miss Pasha Thomas, Pascha Thomas, Thomas. I'm unsure if Miss Thomas would like to state anything as she is the victim.
All right, is she on the call?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Miss Thomas, did you have a statement that you wish to make? Oh, you got to unmute, babe. Just press the right.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can put your hand down now. What is your relationship to Mr. Silas Pate?
That's my fiance.
Okay. All right, so tell me what's going on.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. Honestly, I regret calling the police. Silas he don't drink really. He went out after work with after work he had some moonshine, come to find out, with his coworkers. He don't drink like that. He may drink a light beer. I guess he was trying to show out because they were like, well, who wear the pants in the house? He know he's supposed to come straight home from work. He drunk some moonshine. We supposed to have movie night, and I was trying to cook. I had the meat on the grill, and I just knew he wasn't looking like himself. And so I got mad because he didn't help me barbecue when the meat was burning, and I didn't realize that he was that intoxicated because I've never in 5 years seen him drink like that, period, at all. So he raised up and he, like stood up, and I'm only 5 feet. So I ain't never seen him act like that before. So I called the police thinking that they were just gonna tell him to leave. That's the only thing I was trying to do, tell him that he needed to go sober up and sleep it off. When in reality, I should have just, went to another part of the house. I didn't know, like I told the police, that they were gonna take him to jail because he's the breadwinner. And also he's never did that before. If it wasn't for the moonshine, none of this wouldn't have happened, Your Honor. And I apologize for calling because somebody else could have been seriously needing, the police help. And I called the police over something that's real petty now that I think about it, because it has affected the family. But I just had never seen him like that before. And then when I found out it was the moonshine, I said, oh, that explains it.
Okay. Anything, Mr. Tipton or Mr. Kamani? Okay. All right. So, ma'am, go ahead, Mr. Kamani or Mr. Tipton.
Mr. Tipton, if it's okay, can we agree to credit for time served instead of 10 days to 7 days?
You've already agreed to it, so I'm not changing it at this point.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to give 12 months, 10 days credit since date of lockup. Balance will be probated for Mr. Pate to pay a fine in the amount of $300. That's going to be $444. No alcohol or illicit drugs for the course of throughout the course of your probation. No violent or harassing contact with Ms. Thomas. And you're to take a substance abuse evaluation. If they order treatment, you're to take the treatment. If they don't order treatment, then you're fine. And on count 2, it's a $300 fine, but that will be suspended, and count 2 will run concurrent with count 1. So, Mr. Pate, I'm understanding what Mr. Thomas is talking about, but if drinking alters your personality to that effect, then you probably shouldn't drink. And for the next 12 months, you will be ordered by the court not to drink. Your balance will be probated, and you'll have a fine in the amount of $300. It's going to be $444 or thereabouts, and you'll have all 12 months to pay it. But the sooner you pay it, the easier it is, or you can pay it over time. You're to have no alcohol or drugs, and the substance abuse evaluation, the probation is going to tell you how to get in touch with them and take the substance abuse evaluation. Also, probation is going to provide you with any information that you might need. Once you have, I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mrs. Thomas. Once you probation, just make sure you ask them any questions that you have so that we can go through this process. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So when will I be released?
Today, I believe, because You came in on the 10th, today's the 20th.
No,
So,
Your
but
Honor, he came on the 14th.
the 14th, oh, I'm sorry. So you have a few more days, but the jail can give good time. That's up to them. So once the jail calculates your time, they may release you today, they may not, okay? All right, Mr. The jail and Mrs. Thomas are in breakout room number 6. Please go into breakout room number 6. I'm gonna put Mr. Taylor in breakout room number 4, and I'm going to put Mr. Triplett in breakout room number 4. Mr. Taylor, there is someone there to assist Mr. Triplett. Please make sure that you speak with them also, because they can give you the background information on this case, okay? All right. And Mr. Kamani, did you have any other cases?
Yes, Your Honor. Sims.
Okay. When the jail comes back, we'll do Sims. So Mr. Triplett, or the gentleman with Mr. Triplett, if you touch the screen, it should show you how to get into the breakout room. All right, so, 1 second. Mr. Taylor, I'm trying to get him into the breakout room. Court administration is managing the situation, and I think they keep stepping out. So, to the gentleman who's with Mr. Triplett, if you're on a computer, just move the mouse and it should show you that there's an invitation to the breakout room. And you can click on that and come into the breakout room. There you go. Mr. Taylor?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And all right, so when the jail comes back and Mr. Taylor comes back, then we'll be able to address some other cases.
Oh, Your Honor, the jail is back.
Who else do you have, Mr. Kamani?
Sims,
I'm sorry,
Sims, the last
Oh.
case.
Mr. Sims, please. Mr. Sims, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this trial will be true.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can look. So, Mr. Sims, you're before the court on 2021 CR 08117. Cameron Alexander Sims. Mr. Sims, you were before this court on a plea of battery, family violence, simple battery, family violence, cruelty to children, on the 16th day of November of 2021. You were sentenced to 12 months on probation. You have 5 months and 16 days remaining. Your sentence was told. It's alleged that you also have the new offenses of battery of an unborn child, cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, aggravated assault by strangulation, simple battery and battery family violence. Failure, you also have failure to avoid contact with the victim. The court ordered you to avoid having harassing or violent contact with Kiana Travick or any other members of the family on March 3rd of 2022. You failed to comply with counseling. You failed to document enrolling in and participating in family violence intervention. You failed to complete 40 hours of community service, and you're $510 in arrears. Mr. Austin, what's the recommendation in this case?
From my understanding from counsel that he was only going to plead to the technicals, and that was 90 days to serve and close this case out.
Okay. Mr. Kamani, I'm gonna let you know that if he's playing to the technical, the one I'm concerned about is failure to contact with the victim. And 90 days is not going to be sufficient for the court.
All right, Your Honor.
The
Can
court broke the balance.
All right. Can I just speak to the, can I have a breakout room?
You may. One moment. The jail will be in breakout room number 5. Mr. Kamani will be in breakout room number 5.
You're gonna have to go to that.
Mr. Triplett, can you mute yourself again?
Are you here? Are you?
Mr. Peach, can you mute your microphone?
All right. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Is Mr. Tipton in the room?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, can we get a breakout room?
Yes, Mr. Taylor, hold on.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor and Mr. Tipton are in breakout room number 2.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Kamani, Mr. Tipton's in a breakout room right now. As soon as he comes back, we'll come in.
Your Honor, do you have time for a bench conference, or would you like to resolve the other cases that are ready?
Let me finish with Mr. Sims. Mr. Sims, come back. Mr. Kamani, you and
Yes,
Mr. Tipton.
Your Honor, he's going to stipulate and agree to
Okay.
the technicals.
All right. So, Mr. Sims, I'm not sure what's going on, sir, because you've been before me a number of times. How old are you, sir?
I'm 24 and I only been with you one time last year.
That's not true, Mr. Sims. You got a ticket before me too.
Oh, they ran the concurrent. I remember when I was at my job and y'all called me. I was on video time with y'all, and they ran the them two situations concurrent, and I was going to Officer Chang.
Okay. All right. So, sir, you have 5 months and 16 days remaining. Because you're agreeing to the technicals only, I'm fine with that. One of the technicals is I ordered you not to have any violent or harassing contact with the alleged victim. And to me, that's the biggest technical, because you having been arrested for similar issues should have known that it was probably not a good idea to have that type of contact with the individual named as the victim in this case.
Yes, ma'am.
So, sir, I'm going to revoke 5 months and 16 days. And you're to have no contact with Miss, what is it, Kiana?
Kiana Travis.
Yeah, no contact. Let me explain what that means, sir. That if I find out you're calling her or texting her or having somebody else call her or text her or get in touch with her on your behalf, then you are going to come back and then we're going to talk about whether you get new charges, like new misdemeanors or new felonies. Do we understand?
Yes, ma'am. I have a question.
Sure.
All right, like she is the mother of my child. We do have
You know what? I'm so sick of hearing that. I have so many people about the mother of their child, the mother of their child, but the mother of the child is always the victim in the case. I don't care.
I understand that. I was gonna ask, like, every time when I have to get my child, like, do I have to be?
No, sir. You're not getting your child. First of all, you're gonna spend the next 5 months and 16 days in jail. Second of all, have you legitimized the child through the Superior Court?
No, ma'am.
Were you married to
No,
Ms. Peavick when you had the child?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then you're not a legal parent and you shall have no contact with the child also, and I'm putting that in the order. So you're not gonna get your child, your parents not gonna get your child, your sister's not gonna get your child, nobody from your family. Do you understand? If anybody contacts Ms. Travick, anybody tries to get the child on behalf of Ms. Travick, it's gonna be held to pay with me. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't care
I
about
have
the
no.
child when this occurred, so no, sir. Spell the alleged victim's name again, Mr. Tipton.
The victim for Mr. Sims's case is Kiana Travick, KeyanA Travick.
All right. So defendant shall have 5 months and 16 days revoked and shall remain in the Clayton County Jail. Defendant shall have no contact with Kiana Travick, any child of Kiana Travick. You understand, sir?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
you can't email, you can't have your friend girl call, you can have your friends call, your mama, your cousin, your sister, nobody. We clear? If it doesn't come through the Superior Court or my court, then you're to have no contact.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can go back with the sheriff's office.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I'll send this order over.
Copy.
All right, Mr. Sims has a SSD. I will release him for credit for time served on the SSD. I'm just making sure it's for a no license charge. I'm making sure that I have it so that it's only that SSD, but he is going to stay in jail. So Deputy?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sims has 5 months and 16 days remaining on his sentence that has been revoked, but he does have a SSD. You all will get an order that will end the SSD case and give him credit for time served for the money case, the no license case. But for the revocation, he is to stay in jail. We clear? All right, so I'll send that order over.
Here's one.
One second.
Mr. Taylor, I sent the email. The message not going through on the chat.
I received it, Ms. Johnson. We'll come back to you.
All right. Okay, so Mr. Taylor, you have an announcement?
Yes, Your Honor, if we could have a bench conference regarding Mr. Triplett's case. We just wanted to let you know what's going on.
Okay. You all were in breakout room number 2. I'll come in and join you. Go on in. All right, Mr. Kamani, have we done all your cases? Is Mr. Kamani the Breakout Room? Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor. Except
Okay.
for Jones, Patrick is pending.
Okay, and Mr. Boykin is Mr. Taylor's case.
That's
So
right.
we'll finish that in a second, Mr. Boykin. All right, we're ready.
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Boykin.
Girl.
I got to see you, Mr. Boykin. All right, so Mr. Boykin, to reiterate, after discussion with your attorney, my understanding is the sentence will be 12 months to serve 5 days balance probated, family violence intervention program, 40 hours of community service. You're not to go back to 5868 Roney Drive in Clayton County, and you're to have no contact with Cedrica Hubert. You're also to pay $1,000 fine, which is going to be $1,420 with the surcharges. On count 5, 12 months to serve to pay $1,000. That'll also be $1,420. That will run concurrent, which means at the same time as your sentence on the first case. And on offense number 9, you'll have 12 months and $1,000 fine, 12 months probation and $1,000 fine. That $1,000 fine will be the third $1,000 fine that you'll be paying. That'll also be $1,420, and that will run consecutive to count one, which means that you will have 24 months on probation to complete all of the fines and fees and all of the conditions of probation. And you're not to have any contact with Cedrica Hubert. And let me tell you what that means. If you have contact with Ms. Hubert of any kind, I don't care how much, any kind, without it being through the courts, then you will have the possibility of having the balance of your probation revoked, and you spend that time in jail. You also may be charged with an additional misdemeanor or felony, and generally a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison, a $10,000 fine, or both. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right.
Hey, what if she wanna come around me?
Then you keep a record of it, but you do not respond. If you have any contact with her, even if she approaches you, then you're the person who's under my order. So you're to avoid contact with her. If she contacts you, block her. Unless it's through
Pull up to my house with my son.
Excuse me?
What if she pull up to my house with my child?
Then you stay in the house and don't answer the door.
So I can't. So I go through my family to get my son?
No, you don't get your son, sir. Not unless the court orders it.
Well, we finna get married, so we can change all this.
If you get married, sir, then that means you will have contact with her. If you do that, I'll take away the 12 months and I'll put you in jail for 24 months.
That's crazy. What is it?
Mr. Boykin. Mr. Boykin.
Mr. Boykin, all of this you going through here, you could have thought about all of that before you put hands on her.
I didn't put
Yeah, don't even, because we got pictures.
Sometimes people over.
Mr. Boykin. Mr. Boykin.
Yes, sir.
Talking, Mr. Boykin, because I find that when people talk a lot, that's how they dig themselves in further and further. Now, I've gone with a 24 months negotiated sentence. I'll revoke all of that and then.
Oh, no, ma'am.
Okay. Clear? All right, then be quiet. I'm gonna put you in a breakout room with Mrs. Thomas. Mrs. Thomas is the probation expert. She's gonna explain everything you need to know to successfully complete probation. And please ask her if I'm not serious about what I say.
Oh no, I'm not gonna go around it, but she better come around me though. So
then keep a record of it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'm going to put you in a breakout room with Mrs. Thomas. Once you finish speaking with Mrs. Thomas, then you're free to go. But please understand, the quickest way to get rearrested is to not show up for probation. All right. Bless his heart. All right. So Mr. Tipton, you still have Destiny Johnson. We're going to continue Mr. Triplett's case for 1 month for you all to get me orders like we talked about, or make a decision on what we're going to do. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Actually, let's continue Mr. Triplett's case for 2 months. That way he doesn't have to come rushing back down here for something. And if we get the orders in, then you all let me know, and I may just suspend it for a while. Okay, Mr. Triplett, at this point, you and your family are free to go. And keep in touch with your attorney, Mr. Taylor.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So, Mr. Taylor, have you spoken to Ms. Johnson? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor. Is there an announcement from the state regarding that case?
Your Honor, I'm just waiting on an email to come through from the defense. He's supposed to, Mr. Taylor's supposed to send me some documentation about the community service hours she's performed. And once he gets me that, I expect and I'll cross the case.
All right. All right. So we'll wait on that. The jail, can we have Harris? That's Mr. Taylor's case.
And that email is on the way. It must just be filtering through your firewall.
Yes, sir, Mr. Taylor. Could you send it to me? Could you send the document via text? If so, I'll send you my cell phone number, and I can review it that way if it's just gonna come through anyway.
Okay, just chat it to me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Harris, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true. All right, you can put your hand down. But Mr. Harris, you're before the court on you're before the court on 2022 CR 04558 Akeem Harris for 2 counts of giving a false name, address, or date of birth. You're entering a plea of guilty to both counts. By doing so, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things, Mr. Harris?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, factual basis recommendation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On September 10th, 2022, officers of the Clayton County PD were in general patrol on Conley Road when they made a traffic stop of an Acura SUV. They spoke with the driver and then spoke with the passengers of the vehicle. Upon making contact with Mr. Harris, who was in the vehicle, Mr. Harris gave them the name, let's see. Appears that they gave the name Reginald Strozier. However, that is not his correct name. And he also gave a false date of birth. Oh, excuse me, no, he gave the name R. Fleming.
I believe the false name was Akim.
Oh, excuse me, Akim Harris. Excuse me, Akim Harris. I gave the false name Akim Harris. And let's see, he also gave the, which is not his correct name, his correct name being Akeem Harris. And he also gave the date of birth of 12/31/1992, his correct date of birth being August 31st of 1992. State's recommendation for count 1 is a $100 fine, and for count 2 is another $100 fine.
All right, is there consideration for time served or are these fines?
These are just fines, Your Honor.
All right, how long has Mr. Harris been in jail?
He has been in since the 10th of September, so he's been in for 10 days, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Taylor, anything on behalf of your client?
Just nothing further, Your Honor. Only that you would, Your Honor, would follow the recommendation.
Okay. Was he arrested for the false name, address, or date of birth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Harris, the court is going to accept your plea of guilty on counts 1 and count 2. On count 1, it's a fine in the amount of $100. The court is going to give you, in lieu of the fine, credit for time served. On count 2, it's a fine of $100. The court is going to give you credit for time served. All right. Don't do it again, Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
We know how to find you. Trust me. Hi. All right, Mr. Harris can go back with the sheriff's office on, next I need High.
So much, ma'am.
All right, Mr. High.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
Raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true. I'm sorry?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can put your hand down. Mr. Austin, do you know who sent me Mr. High's petition? Because I'm having trouble finding it.
It would have been Ms. Chain, but I can resend it to you on.
Oh, hold on a second. Okay, I'm finding it now. All right, hold on. All right, there we go. Mr. High, you were before this court on State of Georgia versus Steve High, 2021 CR 00677 for no license violation on the second day of September 2021. You were sentenced to 12 months on probation. You had 2 months and 3 days remaining. And says you failed to report to probation by mail on October 15th of 2021, November 15th, November 30th, December 15th, December 30th, all of 2021, and then January 15th, March 22nd, April 15th of 2022. And within 10 days of May 4th, 2022, as directed, you last reported to probation on April 22nd, 2022 by phone. You have failed to document proof of completing 100 hours of community service as directed, and you're $500 in arrears. Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Your Honor, my client would like to stipulate to the technical violations and accept the recommendation of 7 days and then terminate probation.
Mr. Austin?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. Defendant to receive 7 days and credit for time served and close this case out.
Okay. All right, Ms. Johnson, I just received a motion to null pros your case. I will grant that motion, ma'am. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and sign the order. At this time, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You can talk to your attorney later, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Okay, Mr. High, I have that you're going to have 7 days revoked after the service of 7 days with credit since the date of lockup. Your case will be closed and you'll be released.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, I'm going to send this over. Okay. All right, and what's going on with Kirkland? All right, Mr. High, you can go back with the sheriff's office. Kirkland, who's what's going on with Kirkland?
Mr. Kirkland will be a negotiated plea of nolo.
Cynthia Marie Kirkland. Raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And this is Cynthia Marie Kirkland.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can put your hand down. You're before the court for giving a false name, date of birth, or false name, address, or date of birth. You're entering a plea of nolo. By entering the plea of nolo, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. Do you understand all of these things?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Factual basis recommendation, please.
Didn't unmute myself. Yes, Your Honor. On August 5th, 2022, officers with Clayton County PD were dispatched to 6358 Old Dixie Road. That's the American Inn and Suites in Jonesboro. In reference to the manager requesting the police presence there. When they arrived, they made contact with Mr. Kirkland, who identified himself as Crystal, CHRYSTAL, Anafari, ANARFI, and gave a date of birth of September 7th, 1984. While that was the correct birth date, the name that Mr. Kirkland, that appeared on Mr. Kirkland's that is official to Mr. Kirkland currently is Cynthia Kirkland, although Mr. Kirkland does prefer Kingston Kirkland. So let's see. The recommendation is 12 months, serve 30 days. Let's see. Yeah, 12 months, serve 30 days. Balance suspended. Let's see, and no violations with no violation of criminal law.
All right, Mr. Taylor.
And I'm sorry, Your Honor, and credit for time served.
Okay, Mr. Taylor.
Your Honor, we would just ask that Mr. Kirkland be credited for the time spent in jail.
Okay, so Mr. Kirkland, sorry for misgendering you. My apologies. Who's Crystal Anafari?
Sister. When I got married, I took my wife's last name. So my last name, technically, I was born Cynthia Anafri. So I used my twins name, Crystal Anafri.
Okay.
When I got married, I legally changed.
You legally changed your name to what?
Kirkland. When I got married. So that's my maiden name is Anafri.
What's your preferred first name?
Kingston.
Okay, is that on your driver's license?
No, ma'am, because I'm on probation, I'm unable to change my name until my.
Okay.
Your Honor, sorry for the three names we're dealing with, but the problem was not so much the last name Kirkland. That's legally
I
the
know.
defendant's name, but Anarfi or Crystal is the problem.
I get it. So, because that's why I was trying to understand, because if it was a situation where you were unable to transition, but you used another name, then I would have been like, okay, no harm, no foul. Let's work this out. But don't give someone else's name, because that person then becomes someone that the police have in their records as having had an offense. And if something happens and they get pulled into court or they get arrested or stopped and they don't know that there's something hanging out there, the last thing you want is a negative police encounter for someone who is clueless that somebody's using their name. You know how far wrong that can go?
I panicked.
I get that, but if you panic, make up a name, Daffy Duck, I don't know, but don't put somebody down who is a real person who they could be driving along one day. And you know how many times I had one guy when I first started on the bench, he had a 6-figure job. His brother, who looked almost identical to him, kept using his name. This man almost lost his job, his house, his family, because his brother kept doing this to him. And I was like, you must hate your brother.
I panicked. That's the first thing that came to mind, because explain to me, fraternal, we're kind of like, I don't know, I just was trying not to get in trouble.
Well, don't him your twin up because of some foolishness you got into, because if you're given a false name, address, or date of birth, to me, that means you think there's something out there that you should be afraid of. But my thing is, if you have done something, face it, get it taken care of, instead of the ball dropping on you when you're not prepared for it, and definitely not somebody else. We clear? All right. I'll accept your NOLO. I'll send you to 12 months to serve 30 days. Credit since lockup or credit for time served and balance suspended as long as you have no new violations of the laws of the state of Georgia, Mr. Kirkland.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You can go at this time. John Patrick Wesley, I'm sorry, Patrick Wesley Jones. Patrick Wesley Jones. All right, so Mr. Jones, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Jones, you're before this court on a motion to revoke bond, which means that the state is asking me to revoke the remainder of your sentence and put you in jail. Oh, I'm sorry, to revoke your bond and put you in jail, but you're already in jail because you missed the hearing that we had set up the last time. So what they're asking is for you to remain in jail until such time as your case is resolved. So you're before the court on a criminal trespass. This is case 2019-CR-09325. You're represented by attorney Wesley Taylor.
Yeah, that's my case.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Kamani, Muhammad Kamani. And he's here with you and prepared to go forward with this hearing. The state is represented by Mr. William Tipton, and he's here also. Are we ready to begin the hearing?
It is ready, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Kamani.
Yes, Your Honor. You're ready.
All right. You may begin.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to begin by asking the court to take judicial notice of the fact that Mr. Jones was arrested on July 1st of July 1st, 2022 for a violation, actually on June 23rd of 2022 for battery, aggravated assault, cruelty to children, and obstruction of telephone calls involving the victim in this case, the victim in the criminal trespass. Okay. And the state would like to call Miss Ebony Jones.
All right, Miss Jones, may I see you, please?
I'm here.
Raise your right hands for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a bit of a delay, I think, on some of this. So if you don't hear it or if it appears that she's not answering right away, give it a second. Okay. All right. So Mr. Tipton, you're a witness.
Yes. Hello, Miss Jones. How are you doing today?
Okay.
Miss Jones? Okay. So are you the Ebony Jones who lives at?
Can you abbreviate the address? Just give her enough to identify it.
Fielder Road, who lives off of Fielder Road?
Okay, Miss Jones, for some reason, I'm not hearing you anymore. Can you check, just say something?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, that's better. All right.
Okay. So, Miss Jones, are you the Ebony Jones that lives on Fielder Road?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And do you recall September 19th, 2019?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have an incident on that date with Mr. Patrick Wesley Jones?
Yes.
And was he arrested on that date?
Yes.
And was he supposed to not have, and were you aware of him not supposed to have, of the fact that he was not supposed to have contact with you?
Yes.
Okay. Has he had contact with you since then?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about that contact?
I'm trying to think. This was the incident when he, I guess, trespassing, right?
This is from June 23rd, 2022. You remember that date?
2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened on that date, ma'am.
Okay, well, okay, so what, I'm trying to think. We got into it. I guess I was in the kitchen. That's when it started. That's when it all started. And he got mad because I didn't finish the food that was in the refrigerator or whatever. And he told me to clean up or something like that. And I told him I wasn't done with it. And so the incident took into the bedroom. And he had, he had pushed me, and then I had pushed him back. And then after that, I guess I was on the phone with one of my classmates, and then that's when they had called the police over to the house.
Okay, Miss Jones, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get the date straight. This was what happened in June?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so he
Yeah.
was in your house in June?
Yes.
Well, how did he get to be in your house enjoying food? Like,
we were together.
You
We was
what?
living together.
Okay, so you were living together after September of 2019?
Yes.
Were you aware that he had a no contact provision?
Yes. We both were.
But you allowed him to come in and stay in your house?
Well, it's really his father's house. He allowed me to come back over there.
Where were you before?
My parents' house.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Tipton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Were the police called on June 23rd, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me about your interactions with Mr. Jones on that day?
That's what happened. We had gotten into it about me cleaning up or whatever, and he got mad that I didn't finish the food that was in the refrigerator. And the incident took him to the bedroom, and that's when he had, I guess he had hit me in the back of the neck or something like that. I got mad. I pushed him, he pushed me back. And then that's when the police was called.
Okay, were there any weapons involved?
No.
Okay. Who called the police?
It was one of my classmates, because I told her what was going on.
Did he at any point in time attempt to hinder their phone call to the police?
No, because I had my phone in my hand.
One moment, please. I apologize.
I had my phone with me the whole time.
Hold on, Miss Jones, hold on. Is there
Okay.
someone else in the room with you, Miss Jones?
No, ma'am.
All I'm seeing is ceiling. I don't see you.
No, because I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then I apologize. Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Tipton?
Okay. Did you at any time state that Mr. Jones had put his hands around your neck?
No, he
Did you
just hit me in the back of the neck, but that was it.
Okay. Were you gasping when you spoke to police?
No.
Okay. Did you at any time state that you had been choked?
Not that I can remember. I don't think so.
Let's see. Did you attempt to get on your phone and dial 911, but he grabbed your phone?
No.
Did you tell the police at any point that he grabbed your phone?
No, not that I can recall.
Okay. Did you have any bruises on your face?
My face, no, but on my neck, on the back of it, yes.
In the back of your neck, you had bruises on your neck.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any?
Yeah, that's all. It wasn't no bruise or nothing.
Did you have any other visible injuries?
No.
Did you tell the police at any point that Mr. Jones had pointed a black Taurus 380 handgun at you?
No.
Did you tell him at any point that he had a black Taurus handgun?
Yes.
Okay. And were there any children present during this incident?
Not that I can recall. They might have been in their room.
Okay. Do you share any children with Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Okay. And are those two? And tell me about those two children you share with Mr. Jones.
One is 7 and one is 3. The oldest, her name is Destiny. The youngest, her name is Diabian.
Okay. Were they in the home at the time?
Yes. They were probably in their room.
Okay. Was your lip busted?
Yes, it was.
Did you have any bruising on the front of your neck?
Not that I can recall. But I know
if I show you a picture of if I show you some pictures of your neck, would that refresh your memory?
Yes.
I'd like to show the victim some pictures. Do you see this picture of your neck?
No, I don't see nothing. Hold on. Oh, let me see. Yes, I do.
It may be difficult to see with the. Here, let me do this. Let me see if this will help me with some.
Yes.
Do you see any bruising or marks on your neck?
No, it just look normal.
Miss Jones, remember that I can also see the pictures.
Yes.
Okay. And how about, sorry if the light's a little, I'm just trying to get the lighting good on this.
Let me see. Hold on.
Do you see any bruising or marks on this picture?
Yes, it looks red.
Okay, thank you. And is this a picture of your bruised lip?
Yes.
And is this a picture of the back of your neck, which had a red mark and bruise on it?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, no further questions from this witness.
Cross-examination, Mr. Kamani?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Jones, are you and Mr. Jones legally married?
Yes.
And you said that you have 2 kids together, right?
Yes.
And you are aware that Mr. Jones has a no contact order with you, right?
Yes.
Is it true that between 2020 and 2022, you and Mr. Jones lived together?
Yes.
And at no point between that period you objected to living with him and you voluntarily lived with him?
Yes.
Is it true that you are still in touch with Mr. Jones through the jail kiosk?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'll rephrase my question. So since June 23rd, 2022, okay, you have been in touch with Mr. Jones through the jail kiosk?
Yes.
And you are voluntarily in touch with Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Is it true that the incident that happened on June 23rd, 2022, Mr. Jones did not hit you?
Yes.
He just said wait, ma'am, let me explain something to you. I'm listening and I got a great memory and I just heard what you said. And so please be careful about trying to help Mr. Jones with your testimony. I know he's your husband and I know you got 2 kids and I know you're trying to, get your situation back. But please understand that you risk 5 years in prison if you perjure yourself because you are under oath. I'm listening, I'm taking notes, and I have a phenomenal memory. So if somebody asks you something that you've previously answered that a different way, please understand that I will know.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jones, is it true on June 23rd, 2022, Mr. Jones did not commit any criminal act against you?
Yeah.
Can you repeat your answer? I did not get it. Ms. Jones?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you repeat your answer to my last question?
I said yes.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Tipton?
Briefly, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Jones, so you stated earlier that you live with Mr. Jones at his father's house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would you say that you're dependent on Mr. Jones's father?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, do you pay any rent?
I mean, when we were living there, I mean, I guess at the time, because we do be needing help with this and that, but I wouldn't say depending. I have my own family, so I don't really depend on his family.
All right, all right. So, and you're married to Mr. Jones, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you love Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Would you lie for Mr. Jones?
No.
All right. And you've seen the pictures, you've seen the injuries. How did you get those? How did you get those injuries?
Well, he hit me on the back of the neck, and then as far as the front, I'm not sure. I can't call.
All right, well. And you said earlier you were out of breath, is that correct?
I'm trying to think. My memory isn't that good. Not that I can recall. I just remember he hit me on the back of the neck. Really, that was about it.
Oh.
And pushing me.
Oh. So could you show me how it happened? Your hand. Like, how did he hit you in the back of the neck?
Like, I guess I was turning around doing it, slapped me in the back of the neck real hard.
So he slapped you in the back of the neck.
Yes.
But you just said that he didn't commit any crimes against you.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. That ever happened before? That ever happened before since your has that happened before since the initial criminal trespass that from 2019?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Kamani, anything else for the judge?
No other witness, Your Honor. No witness from the defense.
Okay. Does the state have another witness?
State rests, Your Honor.
All right. Argument?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, what you've heard from the witness that has been consistent is that she was hit in the back of the neck. That's a new crime. She was living with the defendant when he wasn't supposed to be living with her. It doesn't matter if they consented. There are ways that they can go about that. There are ways that they can go about changing those bond conditions. The simple fact of the matter is he violated that by living with her. On top of that, Your Honor, I'm genuinely concerned that Ms. Jones seems to have all this memory loss, given that she seems to be changing her story between what I'm asking and what Mr. Kamani's asking. Your Honor, she's clearly admitted that he has lived with her and has continuously violated this bond. And she's also stated that he hit her. It's that simple, Your Honor. The state believes that there has been a crime that occurred, that there was a violation of the conditions of bond. And for that reason, the state is asking that the bond be revoked.
Mr. Kamani?
Yes, Your Honor. So, Your Honor, from the testimony of Ms. Jones, she has said that she's voluntarily living and having contact with Mr. Jones. And this contact they have been living since 2022, between 2020 and 2022. And she has also admitted that she is still in contact with Mr. Jones after June 23rd, 2022. Regarding the new violations, Your Honor, she stated on cross-examination that Mr. Jones did not commit any new crimes. And on that, regarding the new case, Your Honor, there hasn't been any preliminary hearing on that case. And the probable cause has not been established on those new charges. And I would like to say that, Your Honor, the credibility of the witness is in question, because at one point she says that she did not commit a crime, but when Mr. Tipton questions, she says that he did commit some crime. So, Your Honor, there's no probable cause in the case being established yet by any court of law. So on those bases, Your Honor, I would request that his bond may not be revoked.
Right. All right. So in the matter of Patrick Wesley Jones, so in cases where domestic violence is present, there are all kinds of reasons why the alleged victim of a domestic violence would testify for or on behalf of the violator. One, because a lot of times in relationships, women have not been brought up in a situation where they see this as violence. Sometimes they see this as normal because they grew up in a relationship where violence was in the home, and to have these kinds of interactions is normal to them, so they don't even consider it violence. The second reason is if you are in a vulnerable situation where possibly the person who is committing the violence is the person who's the breadwinner or who's providing the home or providing the needs to the family, then their wish is to not have that person be in jail to avoid a hardship, a financial hardship, or a hardship of some other type. In other situations, it is that the person who is being abused feels like it's their fault that the alleged abuser is in jail, and they need to do whatever it takes to make sure that they're reconnected with the family. Or it could be a situation where the abuser's family and friends are putting undue pressure on the alleged victim to help him out and get him out of jail because, you know, he needs to be with his family. Unfortunately, a lot of times when those types of things happen and the abuser goes back to the family, the abuse either continues or escalates. In this situation, Mr. Jones was told that he could have no contact with Mrs. Jones, but that was based on the criminal trespass that took place. He goes back, and now there's an allegation of even more serious charges because he went back to the home. Even if she let him in, there's a lot of reasons that women or men who are abused go back to their abuser or accept them back because of all of the situations involved. But it doesn't mean that there was no abuse, and it doesn't mean that the abuser shouldn't face consequences. Mr. Jones, I'm not sure who taught you what a relationship is meant to be, but violence is not part of any good relationship. And you have children who are 7 and 3, if I'm not mistaken. If they were in the home at the time that this happened, even if they were in their room, Mrs. Jones, this will affect them. If you want to make your children either be abusers or people who subject themselves to abuse, then this is the exact way you do that. When you have abuse and violence in a home, you psychologically mess up your kids. And if you want to do that, y'all are on a great path to doing that. So at this time, Mr. Jones, your bond is going to be revoked. You're going to remain in jail until such time as your case is resolved. And if you continue to talk to Ms. Jones through the jail kiosk or through any other means, then the court will consider sending your case to the solicitor's office for consideration of further charges. Do you understand? Mr. Jones, you hear? Okay. And if you do get past this situation and get out, if y'all wish to stay together and have some kids who are halfway sane, then y'all need to get some counseling, because violence in a home, I don't care if it's acceptable to you, Ms. Jones, if it's okay that he hit you, if it's not a big deal, it is a big deal to those children. It is a big deal that you hit their mama to those children. And you're just well on your way to messing them up. So while you're in jail, think about that. All right, I'll get a just send me an order to revoke bond.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. You can keep calling him if you want to, Ms. Jones, but that's going to be more consequences.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anything else on this calendar?
Judge, I have two inmates down here, Judge.
Who you got,
Morgan
sir?
and Lynn. Morgan and Lynn.
Okay, Morgan and Lynn are both going to be continued for 3 weeks, so you can send them back. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
All right. That concludes the hearing. That concludes this calendar. I'll be signing. So if there's anything that needs